Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rolling Through Negotiations. This is episode 97. We're getting closer and closer to the 100th episode, and we're recording this one in August 2025. Welcome, I'm Matthew Karakalakis. I'm the host of Rolling Through Negotiations. If this is your first time listening, I hope you find something helpful or useful in what we're sharing. And if you're a returning listener, high five, high 10. Welcome back. You're a legend. Love having you here. Our guest today is Cecilia McKenzie. She's a proud Wiradjuri woman. She's a deadly First Nations advocate, connector, educator. She speaks from a place of absolute spiritual truth, spiritual strength, cultural knowledge, depth in what she shares. So I'm really excited to share this one with you. I think you're going to love this episode. And before we jump into it, let us acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands. Let's pay our respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. And I'd also like to acknowledge the Kaurna people whose lands we're recording this episode from. Let's go. Come meet Cecilia McKenzie. Let's roll. Cecilia McKenzie, welcome, sister, to Rolling Through Negotiations.
Thank you very much for having me, Matt. Yeah, really excited to be here.
And you do some amazing work in terms of community representation, and you also do this amazing work when it comes to identity and making sure that voices are heard. Are there any impactful ways that you can share so that anyone listening right now who wants to get deeper in alignment with their identity and they want to have their voice heard can be empowered in making that happen?
Yeah, sure. I don't think it's a linear journey to that. I think it's a lifelong journey to really know your identity and who you are as an individual. And I think that the adversity and the difficult things that come to us in life serve as excruciating things, but they also come as gifts because they give us an opportunity to meet ourselves more. And I think that, our identity and our sense of identity comes from going deeper. And someone said to me once, you can't, if you really want to know yourself, you can't avoid the pain. You can't go around it. Like it's a big fat mountain in front of you. You can't go around it. You can't go on under it. You've just got to conquer that mountain. You've got to walk up the top and to the tip of it. And that journey up that hill, up that mountain, you learn more about yourself. You understand who you are. Our ancestors bring guides and gifts to us on that journey. And even in the resting up the summit, even in those moments when we're taking the rest, we're still getting to know ourselves. So, yeah.
Let's go deeper into this because it sounds pretty amazing. And I know that you have an amazing space within you when it comes to spiritual intuition and connecting with ancestors. And you spoke about listening to ancestors, listening to guides, coming to that place of solidarity through the listening. How can we develop this kind of intuition to help us vocalize what's important?
When we're on our path, when we're really, like it's a Christian term, but I think it can be overlaid into lots of different spiritual concepts. But when we truly surrender to the journey and truly surrender and acknowledge, okay, the only power that I have in this moment is on my choice and how I'm going to engage with this situation, that to me is it's at that point when the ancestors and when Bayami really starts to come in and brings, when we're trying to have control and when we're not sort of taking care of ourselves spiritually, when we're beating ourselves up, when we're, not in line and not linking with our own true selves, it's hard for those messages and those gifts to come on through. But when we can still ourselves, listen to our spirit, all these things, the most difficult points in my life, the really, really, really hard times in my life, when I kind of, okay, my hands are off the wheel, I'm going to just sit here and see what comes. It's then when you kind of bump into the person that kind of gives you the thing that you didn't know. They give you that little kernel of wisdom and sets you on a path of, resourcing and researching. And, yeah, is that too, like, take me back if I missed something there.
No, what you're saying is deadly. It's inspiring, and I really feel you sharing with us the power in surrender. And the surrender is a way of overcoming adversity. And I think about this in terms of people that are going through negotiations. They might be going through a particular family negotiation, or it could be a negotiation in a corporate setting, a workplace setting, community setting. But I can imagine those times, and I not only imagine, I've experienced times where firsthand we're negotiating and we get this feeling of we need to win. The feeling of, we have to overcome all challenges and win here. And our ego can really get way. Sometimes that approach can be beneficial, but just like you were saying, when the rubber hits the road, when it becomes really, really challenging, we need to step away from that egotistical perspective, and we need to embrace the ability to be there in silence, to be there in surrender. And the spiritual power that comes from this place is incredible, isn't it? The spiritual power of we can call it the generations before us, our ancestors, God, but the power that comes within us once we're prepared to surrender and be opened and present, I think is incredible. And this is really what you're speaking about, isn't it?
One of my most significant cultural mentors in life was a beautiful man called Uncle Eric Bell, from Yass. And I'm born Wagga, and that's where my family is from. But a real country of belonging for me is Ngunnawal country. I had my children on Ngunnawal country, and really connected with mob there, and they were so generous with me in terms of formulating my sense of self and sense of cultural identity. And Uncle Eric was incredibly kind and beautiful and so gracious and generous with his education to me, really, about culture in such an organic, kind, gentle, respectful way. And, one day he said to me, and this is a man who he I had the most beautiful moment with him. I was singing, and I've changed my perspectives now, but I was singing the Australian anthem. And at the time I felt honoured, but, my perspectives around the anthem have morphed and evolved. But at that time I was standing beside him, and he didn't know it, but he was about to be awarded the Community Citizen of the Year. But as we were waiting, and I was about to sing the anthem, and he was standing beside me, and he was telling me the story about when he needed his certificate of citizenship, to be able to enter pubs and to be able to, he had his certificate that so many Aboriginal people needed at that time. And then 5 minutes later, he got up and he was acknowledged as the Citizen of the Year. It was just, it was like quite an ironic kind of moment. It was, how we kind of come. But he said one of the most potent advice and guidance and gifts that he gave me, he said, Cecilia, one of your most important roles in this life is to find your gifts.
Mm.
Your responsibility is to give them away. Your purpose is to give them away.
Mm.
You know, so your responsibility is to find your gifts and your purpose is to give them away. And that has stuck with me so much. Like, find your gifts. And I love a good yarn. I love connecting with people. I reckon I'm okay at it too. And, you know, to me, my purpose, that is my purpose. And when I'm in line with that purpose, all these beautiful spiritual gifts and the ancestors just come around me when I'm in line with that. When I really lean into my gifts and I live in holistic, healthy ways to be able to pull on my gifts, then it's simple. The purpose is to just give them away.
Mm. When you speak about letting go, surrendering, connecting with culture, connecting with elders, do you feel that exploring and sharing through story and arts is a powerful way for us to really connect
Oh.
and grow, and even
Mm.
having these tools as powerful resources when it comes to negotiating the world?
Totally. That's why I do what I do. For me, the work that I do, the advocacy, um, in particular, the lived experience advocacy is my songline. You know, in identifying that our songlines that have been with us for thousands of years was about identifying where the safety was, where the water holes were, where the connection was.
Mm.
It's about creating the roadmap for the next woman, creating the roadmap, because that's what's been so potent in my life when I've spoken to other women, particularly other Aboriginal women, other people in my community, and they've been able to say, this was hard for me. This is where I found the support. Like, that's what we do as mob. That's, you know, with regards to, you know, safety we can't trust systems all of the time. Historically, we haven't been able to trust systems, but in our communities, we've trusted each other, you know, and we've connected with each other. And that's how we, you know, they don't call it the Corey grapevine for nothing, you know, like, and that's, I guess, my songline is about saying, this is where the safe spaces are, and amplifying the voices of us to say, you know, this is what trauma-informed support looks like. This is what connection really feels like. This is what cultural safety is for us. You know, often on my journey and when I worked with other women and spoken to other women, you know, they've just wanted to be able to self-determine and identify, this is the support that I've wanted, and this is what, like, you know what you need. We're very intuitive, wise, clever people. We've been around for 65,000 years. What I've found so often, I talk about it often, is that the support that's given is often very prescriptive. It's,
Yes.
oh, okay, you've come to me with your problem. This is what support looks like.
Mm.
And this is how I'm prepared to support you. And a big piece that I advocate around is, like, actually removing that lens. Actually removing that lens requires you to be able to sit and listen deeply, Didiri, you know, actually really, and the support may not be even leaving the relationship, you know. And so often there's this company line of, this is what support looks like. This is, you know, I've read the book, I've read the handbook, I've spoken to the people, and this is what support looks like. And it's not. It's a genuine, meaningful support that actually has an impact. Is exactly, people, if you feel comfortable enough, if you've had enough time to truly build the rapport, you'll tell the person what support looks like for you.
Yes.
You know.
And I really appreciate how you say it's not a prescriptive exercise, because there's plenty of places around that can speak the right words, can say words like reconciliation, cultural safety, they can speak gender equality, they can speak a whole heap of politically well-sounding words, but it's the meaning and the depth and the intention of what's actually done that is the most important, isn't it?
Totally. And when you're in trauma, your nervous system is completely on fire. So, of course, you're going to be presenting like a person whose nervous system is completely on fire. It's weeding through that and supporting the person. Like, it's not about, okay, you're here, this is how I need to help you. You've got a housing issue, you've got this issue, you've got that issue. No. Okay, you're a human and you look incredibly uncomfortable. You're sweaty, you're overwhelmed, you're anxious. How can I help? Like, how can I connect with you so that you feel like you've connected with another? I've got really interested in that somatic stuff, like the somatic healing stuff. And I was reading about how animals, when they're attacked by, or they find themselves in a really traumatic situation, they finish the action. They shake it off. Like if they're caught by a tiger, they shake that off. And, Basil Vanderkolk talks about it in his book, The Body Keeps the Score. We store these things. We store these. So when someone's coming to you and they've had a lived experience of sexual trauma or domestic violence trauma, that is all held inside of them and inside their nervous system and inside of their body. It's about creating a space for them so that they can have respite from the discomfort for that, even if for one moment. Hold the space for them. Don't try and solve problems for them. Just connect with them as another human being and care and respect and dignity. Yeah.
I heard of a model when it comes to listening that you're reminding me of as you speak. And the model is to try to understand when a person's speaking, whether they want to be held, whether they want to be saved, or whether they want to be actioned. And so the held is exactly creating the safe space, holding the space for the person to be able to step into, and just so they can share whatever. Whether they want to be actioned is, do they just want a result? Are they speaking because they immediately want the result? And the heard is, do they want the empathy of the connection through the process? So it's really interesting because being a powerful listener is also about understanding what the person has and needs when they are speaking. And I think it's a mistake that a lot of males can make in terms of thinking that it's always about saving, always about what can I do to bring the result here. And I think it's really about connecting through this. And when we speak about Aboriginal voices, this may be one of the areas where the whole paradigm of the Aboriginal voice really falls down. Many of our elders are tired for the amount of speaking and communicating they've been doing. So then say, have a voice, man, you haven't heard us. So I feel like in a lot of ways, it's this part of the listening that is really missing. When we speak about the somatic healing, sounds fascinating, Sis. I think it's about using animal energies to heal, but is that right?
No, so somatic healing is really about acknowledging that trauma is stored in your body in different, it's held in different ways in your somatic system. You hold it in you, and that energy needs to be discharged in some way, and sadly, so many of our people can never discharge the energy. It's held inside of them and it manifests in so many different ways. And we're not responsible for the things that happen to us, but we are responsible for our healing because nobody else can do it for us.
Yeah.
It's the thing that it's your gig. And how do we discharge it? For me, I live on a farm, so I actually every single day have to go barefoot on the earth and get those, like there's ions and electrons in the earth, and our people knew that. We know that. Barefoot on the earth and have the kookaburra come and wake me up in the morning. I wake at 5:30 every morning of my life. Like Christmas Day, doesn't matter. My body wakes me up at 5:30, and I just have to sit out there and listen to the kookaburra sing to me and the magpie. And when like stilling myself and watching the rhythms of country, I see the sun come up on one side and I watch it go down at the end of the day. And it's kind of I have to wake up in the morning and do that. Like and the mornings that I don't get the opportunity to do that, I feel I lost the transmission, if that makes sense. I lost the link. But you see the rhythms of country when you do that daily. I watch the sun come up and I watch the kookaburra. There's three of them that sit along the electrical pole near my house. I listen to they fly over one side and do their little muster over the side here. Listen to the kookaburra, the magpies. Country talks to us, and for 65,000 years it has done that. And for me, that in when I was really in the difficult part of my life, I know I was unwell because I lost the connection. I wasn't connected to the transmission. And when I'm well, I'm connecting and accessing the transmission and the messages that they're sending me and reminding me where to go and how to do it. And I know when my head's full because I'm not listening to the kookaburras anymore. I'm not listening to my dad sends me butterflies. My dad went to the next place a couple of years ago. My uncle Dave, he sends us yellow-tipped black cockies. When I'm not hearing them, when I'm not hearing what the country's telling me, I know, okay, you're a bit crook. You need to reconnect. You're disconnected. Mm.
How do we reconnect when we're disconnected? Is it a matter of just stepping outside or away from the noise of the everyday tech-driven modern world to remember where we come from?
I think it takes us back to the identity piece we were talking about before, and stilling ourselves and listening deeply to ourselves. But I like the way you asked me that, Matt, in terms of like you're very practical in terms of, okay, that's awesome, Cecilia, but how do you do it? But how is that thing? When you're noisy and when you're overwhelmed, you don't even want to go. Like I find I avoid those opportunities to listen to self and listen to country because it's uncomfortable initially because you have to acknowledge all of the places that you stored all the hurt. You have to see that. And it's having the courage to sit with yourself and having courage to listen to the message because they're not always comfortable. And maybe discipline, maybe discipline in yourself and care for self and okay, this is good for me. This is good for me. It's important for me. But once I'm on a merry-go-round of like, I've spent years not listening to myself and not listening to the messages that have come to me,
And
yeah.
this is where it's really important to be able to set up the frameworks and the processes within our days, within our lives that remind us and help us to connect. And so you were speaking about being on the farm and the way you've set up the system of your life to be able to listen to the kookaburras, be in a place where you're going to be really connected with country, where you're going to have the animals around you. And there's other ways people can set up their system. So, for example, some ways may be setting times each and every single day where they might read about culture through a book by a knowledge keeper, or by meditating or creating a space in the day to play didgeridoo or a time in the day to go for a walk on country. There's different ways in which we can do this, but I really feel, and in listening to you too, sis, that it's about creating the lifestyle that enables us to connect so that we don't get lost in the unnecessary noise of the world, which is so easy to do.
Mm. And these are things that I wanted when I was younger, but actually deep pain unlocked this knowing for me. You know, I didn't want to feel that discomfort, so I had to integrate frameworks to be able to sit with that. You know, it was to get to the frameworks where it feels comfortable to sit in the quiet and acknowledge those things. I had to face it first, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you feel that the right connections with community, with mob, can also be a really powerful way to be able to remember who we are
Mm.
and
Oh,
give us the resources within ourselves to be able to navigate the world with?
that's a lovely question. And connection is everything. And connection where really safe, true, trusting connections. And they are hard to truly form, and they are precious once they're there. And from those really, you know, we're forming connections with the next person. I'm forming connections with somebody who isn't you right now. You know, my connection with you because, you know, whether you're getting a sense of safety or integrity from me, that will inform your connection with the next person who says, oh, have you met that Cecilia McKenzie? Oh, yeah, this is my sense from her. That comes down to the whole songline thing too, that we were talking about in terms of, oh, this is where the places are. This is where the safety is. This is where the sustenance and where the hydration comes from. We're an ecosystem in ourselves, you know, and, you know, when we talk about connection with self and being connected to country and healing, when we're connecting with community and we're connecting with mob, it just spans out. So the more connected and healthier we are as individuals, the more connected and healthy we are as a community. And so that's where, you know, that deep respect for each other and for protocols. The protocols are there for a reason. You know, they're tried and true and been around for years. That's why we respect our elders. That's why we cherish and take care of our little ones. It's encoded in the messages that we share with each other.
Absolutely. And this is where we become stronger
Mm.
with a connection. And when
Mm.
we see and can appreciate the strength and power that connection brings when we're working together, when we are focused towards the common outcome, man, that's where our communities will really benefit. And I feel like you have amazing intuition and to be able to pick up how things are going and what people are thinking and just feeling through truth what's happening. And if we can connect through spirit, man, I believe that this is the most powerful place to be negotiating from.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because I've been in some negotiations where I have had no power whatsoever, rather than to have contextual awareness and read the energy that's being projected at me, you know. And the only power that I've felt that I've had in that situation is my gut instinct. You know, my okay, what have I got here? Like, what are we going to do? Yeah.
But it's really interesting because the most powerful part of us,
Mm.
I feel, is our spirit.
Oh, it's everything. It's because when you put enough adversity on somebody and you take everything from them, and like, you know, I shared some of my challenges that I've had. will say to you, I feel like I've pretty much at points in my life had everything taken. You know, had all of the things. I am completely, you know, if our ego is the labels that life puts on us, you know, woman, wife, mother, what have you. I've had trauma that's come through in my life that has been a hot wind that's blown every single one of those labels off me. And I have had to just stand in my spirit and meet it and see it and let it, you know, that's the thing. That's the thing. And that's the diamonds in the adversity. That's the diamonds because you get to really see what you're made of. And Aboriginal people are just fortified in spirits that are like, you know, amazing. I can't even find the wafty word for that one, but you know, like we've got some grit about us.
Yeah.
And I feel incredibly honored and an incredible sense of pride that I have that kind of resilience and grit in my spirit.
Yes. And as scary as it can be to know that place, knowing that place provides such a beautiful level of safety.
In my life, I've had multiple big bombs kind of happen in my life. So now when stuff comes at me, how bad can it be? I overcame that. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm very nervous about this speaking engagement. Oh, I'm very nervous about this interaction. Huh, I've done tough stuff. I can do this one. It's okay. Can it be worse than that? No way, Jose. And that's the gold in it.
That's so dearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was wondering if there's something that you would like to leave our listeners with as we wrap up this episode. Is there some words that you would like to leave, a feeling, an energy? What would you like to leave as we move on?
Yeah, that life is an absolute gift, and it's a really beautiful, precious gift to be an Aboriginal person in this country. You know, in this world, we're the oldest living culture. You know, it's an incredible gift, and hard stuff's going to come. Pain in life is incredibly inevitable. We have access to something. All humans do. Aboriginal people, we've got access to these abundant, powerful, totally for us ancestors and spirits that just come and meet us every single day. And you're worthy of being able to access that. Like, I think that the thing that holds us back so often is this sense of we're not worthy of it. But we're worthy. We're worthy. We're good enough. We're doing it.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's so well said and so true. And your journey and your strength and your resilience in sharing and inspiring is amazing, Cecilia. So thanks for great.
Thanks, brother. Really, it was really lovely to talk to you. I'd love to, you know, if you're ever over this way, have a cuppa.
Absolutely. And likewise, if you're ever on Ghana country, let us know that too, sis.